You can submit it right here in this chat. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and put it in the chat, and I eventually make my way down. Sometimes we run out of time before I'm able to answer everybody's questions. We still have about 20 minutes. But yeah, if please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. Happy to I try to help as much as I can. I'm not always going to promise to give you answers because sometimes I got to push back on you guys, or sometimes I'm a fan of the Socratic method, and the Socratic method is not giving an answer, but giving you a question of, well, what do you think the answer should be, right? So sometimes I will do that, but I will try to help as much as I can. Or sometimes, I might take your question and make a video out of it because it requires a little bit of a longer explanation. But yeah, please go ahead and submit questions in the chat. So our friend Shiheb says, I work as a data engineer. I'm still a junior, but I always do my best to evolve. What is the best way to build an online portfolio? What are the most important sections to present? So, great question. And I think that you were saying that you were the freelance data engineer, because I'm trying to figure out why you would need to expand your portfolio if you're already in a position, right? If you're in a position, try to stay with it as long as you can, right? But I think you mentioned you were freelance. So focus. So as I mentioned in the opening note, a data science team is still going to be fairly small, and you're still going to have the different roles that the data science lifecycle requires, right? So you mentioned like data engineering. The next role might in the life cycle, the next step might be like an EDA phase or or even a visualization phase. And then after that, you might go into a modeling phase, right? And then after that, you might have another visualization phase, right? Depending on what methodology you follow. So if you want to expand your portfolio, I would focus on the things that you are currently not. So if you are currently a data engineer and you think you can consistently get contracts with that, or you feel comfortable in that role, well, great. Focus your portfolio on the modeling side, right? Because that way you're expanding, you're demonstrating your range. You're demonstrating to say, well, I'm not just a data pipelines guy. I can also do modeling when needed, right? Or I'm also pretty good with my visualization. So here's a couple of visualization examples, right? So that's what I would do if I was in your position. Focus on what you don't have. That way people see your range, and your resume can say, oh, he currently is a proven data engineer working here. And then below that, you can say, the person reading your resume can say, oh, and he also demonstrated some modeling skills here, or he submitted some really good visualizations or something like that, right? So that's what I would focus on. I hope that helps you. Building a portfolio can be a personal thing, but, just show your range. That's kind of the whole point of a portfolio. Okay, so Emil has provided some more detail on his previous question. 8 applications and no response. 1 internship got to the interview, and they made me make a prediction model in a minute 30, which is not feasible. Okay. All right, so it sounds like you're asking 2 questions there in one, Emil. So let me kind of split those apart. 8 applications and no response. I know that you put a lot of work into those applications and you were really hoping to hear back, but 8 applications doesn't really strike me as a high number. So I think that, you're perfectly okay to keep on applying and kind of raise that number. It just doesn't seem like that's a high enough concentration to really say that, you're being rejected constantly, right? I think that's just bad variance you might be experiencing. So take that into consideration, but I would apply to a lot more than 8 positions. Again, especially at the internship level where any experience is valuable, right? All right, so the second part is they made me make a prediction model in a minute 30, which was not feasible. Actually, I just realized I'm reading that as a minute 30, or do you mean an hour and a half? Let me know what you mean by that. If you're talking about a minute 30 or an hour and a half. But look, I mean, part of the data science skill and really part of a scientist skill overall is knowing when something is not possible. So if you walk into an interview and you read the requirements and you know that you don't have enough time, say so.